Welcome back to Therapy Thursday. If you're like me, you're being a responsible Canadian and you're self-quarantining right now. For us, that means it's myself, my wife, my 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 18-month-old, all in this little 900 square foot house, but we're making it work. One thing we really miss is obviously patient-to-person interaction. We miss seeing all of you guys. We've gotten a barrage of emails saying, well, what can I do about my back or to strengthen my core in between this period of time before we can actually physically see you guys today? So that's what this video is here to take care of. We're going to take you through a 5-minute little routine to address both mobility of your spine and then stiffening of your spine, because both components are very, very important. So I'm going to make it interactive. You can follow along with me. There'll be certain exercises I stop short in terms of the number of repetitions on. You can just pause the video and continue along, but we're going to start right off with the segmental cat camel. So with this exercise, you're going to be on all fours like so. We're going to pretend like each segment of your back is its own unit. So to start, you're going to kind of tuck your tail underneath, and then slowly, as if somebody's drawing up through your spine with a string, pull up as high as you can and look as if you're drawing your forehead to your knees with a magnet. And then you're going to unfurrow in the opposite direction as if somebody is slowly pushing your spine into the ground, and finish with your tail up in the air. If you're doing this appropriately, it should take you about 6 seconds for each repetition. So one set of 10 should take you about a minute to do. This exercise is great because it's not loaded. You're not standing, you're not bearing your weight. So what that means is it's essentially safe to do at any time of the day. The person that came up with this exercise, Dr. Stu McGill, used the analogy that this exercise, a cat camel, is like pumping WD-40 into your spine. So it's great for lubrication, and it's a great way to start off our routine. I'm just going to do one more repetition. On your own, make sure you do one full set of 10. Our next exercise, if you've ever had a disc complaint or if it's painful to bend forward, you've probably been assigned this by us. It's called the prone press up. Your hands are going to be next to your shoulders. You're going to keep your hips on the ground, and you're going to use your upper body strength to extend your spine up as high as you can. In yoga, it's called a cobra position. However, we're going to do it repetitively as opposed to holding at the top. So you're going to start at the bottom, push up just high enough that your hips still stay in contact with the ground. This additional portion does nothing because you want the axis to be through your hips. If you feel like you want to try to get a little bit more extension, once you're at the top, exhale all of your breath and drive your hips into the ground. You'll feel that you get a couple of extra degrees of extension up at the top. So with this one, we'll do another nice easy set of 10 repetitions. The next one we're going to go to is the opposite. We're going to allow our back to flex. Again, because it's not loaded, it's a very safe exercise. You're going to start on all fours and then draw your bum down towards your heels. Now with this exercise, you'll notice my back is neutral, and then at some point it will start to flex down. That's going to be the part that we're going for. It's going to be separating those bottom segments of our spine a little bit. Again, in an unloaded position. It's similar to child's pose in yoga, but again, we're doing it for repetitive repetitions. We're going to do one set of 10 repetitions of this one as well. Now, for any of these exercises, it's obviously important that if you feel any discomfort or pain, it's likely not the appropriate exercise for you. And with any type of back pain, you should be consulting a professional to begin with. So from here, we're going to move on to our second component, which are more stiffness-based exercises. The first one is going to be called the bird dog. You're going to be again on all fours. We're going to draw one knee and one hand up at the same time, extending as high as we can, holding for 5 seconds. I'm trying to keep my spine neutral while I do this. And then we're going to alternate. So a couple of keys with this. I'm not going to allow my pelvis to shift side to side. So between repetitions, I'm not shifting side to side like so. I'm trying to maintain that same position of my pelvis the entire time over my base of support. That's where the difficulty with the exercise is. Secondly, I want you to think of the back of your 2 shoulders and the back of your 2 hips as 4 legs of a table. At no point should one of those legs tilt way up or too low. Think of having something like a ball in the middle of your back, and that ball should never be allowed to roll off and fall down at any point during this exercise. You're really trying to maintain your back in what's called a neutral spine posture throughout. So again, we're going to hold for 5 seconds at the top each time, When you're on your own, we advocate you do 10 repetitions per side, so you're going to aim for 20 repetitions overall. Our next exercise is a traditional plank exercise. If you've been following along with our prior videos, you know that we're fans of doing this as repetitions as well. This exercise is not always meant to be held for as long as you can. In fact, the muscles that get targeted with the plank tend to tire out after about 10 seconds. So we're going to be aiming for repetitions of 10 seconds up and then 2-second micro breaks. On your own, our goal is to get you to be able to do 10 repetitions of that. Here we're just going to go through about 5 together. So again, you'll be in your neutral spine posture. You're going to hold for a 10-second count. And then drop down for 2 seconds. As you're doing the plank exercise, we want to assure that your pelvis doesn't hang out too low or come up too high. You want to keep in your neutral spine posture the entire time, and then you're going to drop after 10 seconds. Back up after 2. This is our third round. Again, we'll just go through 5 together. If you want to keep on and go through 10, just pause the video, do your additional 5 repetitions, and then catch up with us after. Drop again. Back up. Dr. McGill, who came up with this exercise, essentially advocates you should only be doing it for a prolonged period as an objective measure. To actually improve in the plank, it's better to do these 10-second up and 2-second down repetitions. If you're finding that too difficult, simply go up on your knees like so. It gives you roughly half the load, and it's a lot easier through your core. So if you want to work into the full plank, that's fine. Just begin from your knees like so, doing 10 seconds up and 2 seconds down. Our next exercise is going to be your standard side plank. With this one, again, there's 2 ways to do it. We will hold this one for more of a prolonged period. We'll do 30 seconds here. Your goal should be roughly a minute. You're going to either have your feet one in front of the other like so, or stacked. You're going to aim to hold for 30 seconds. However, if you're finding that a little bit too difficult, the regression is to have both knees bent like this. And you can just hold for 30 seconds this way. Again, that cuts your load down by about 50%. It still challenges your flank on the downside for the entire duration of the exercise. So we're going to hold for 30 seconds. However, on your own, aim for about 60 seconds with this one. Following that, we're going to switch sides, and we're going to go through the same exercise. So we'll do 30 seconds again. Again, you can either have your feet stacked or your top foot in front of the bottom foot. What you cannot have is the top foot behind the bottom foot, because as you see, that opens my pelvis up. You want your hips to be able to stack one on top of the other, which you can accomplish in either of these positions. If you're looking for an in-between, the half plank and the full plank, try the half plank, but with your top foot straight, just slightly elevated off the ground, and you'll notice that that is sort of midpoint between the half plank and the full plank. Our final exercise is a dead bug. One thing that we find cued incorrectly with this is people will do this exercise from a tabletop position, and then they'll cue themselves to flatten their back against the ground. We always want to maintain what's called a neutral spine posture, which means it's the same curve in your back that you have while you're standing. So you should be able to generally have your fingers meet underneath your back throughout the duration of this exercise. So from this position, I'm going to become stiff through my center, and it's the exact opposite of the bird dog. I'm going to bring one arm up and the opposite foot down, and then come back to my tabletop position. The only alteration with this and the bird dog, other than obviously my being on my back, is there's no need to hold for 5 seconds. With these ones, you're just going to come up and down. We typically tell people to do 20 repetitions of this one continuously in a nice, slow, and steady rhythm. We'll just go through 10 together here. Good. So that's a nice, easy little 5-minute routine you can try on your own. Next week, we're going to show you a much more difficult core routine to try for those of you that are a little bit more adventurous. Again, if any of these exercises hurt, ensure that you contact your healthcare professional. They're likely doing telehealth services like we are right now. and never work through pain with any of these, because there are other exercises you can try instead. We'll see you next week on Therapy Thursday.